Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Ridge. I'm very happy to be back with you guys after taking a couple weeks off. I got sick and actually got COVID just after Thanksgiving, so I was suffering with that for a couple weeks. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people might have suffered with it. The most frustrating symptom I had was the loss of taste and the loss of smell. But other than that, just general sickness type symptoms. So we were very blessed in my family not to get it too bad, but most of my family did come down with it. We picked it up from somewhere else, and it ran through the whole household for the most part. So I'm happy to be back with you today. I thought we would do a little property tour and show you around. I needed to get out and walk some of the property and just see what was going on the land and make sure things are all right after a couple snows and after me being down for a couple weeks. So I'll walk around and show you guys around as I'm just doing some checks on the property. Behind me here is the driveway or the lane to our house. You guys are almost up on the road where you're at now, and this driveway is almost a quarter mile long to the house. So we'll start here at the road and we'll tour our way forward and show you a couple fields and some of the more beautiful features on our property that really drew us to this place. So this is one of two ponds that we have on our property. It's the larger of the two ponds, and it sits just on the very front edge of my property, right up against the road. And right now it's very low, much lower than it normally is. We had a pretty wicked drought this late fall, and so the water levels dropped down real low. It's got a little skim coat of ice on it right now. There are a few fish in here, but we haven't done a whole lot of fishing out of this pond yet. But it's a nice sized pond, and in the spring and summer it's usually much fuller than this. So we've come down the driveway and we've come to the first major field on the property. This field itself is about 8.5 acres. There's some trees interspersed in here, but once you get past this little section of trees here, it opens up into a large field. Right now it's just being used for making hay. I have a guy that I've come to know that makes hay for me and just cuts the field, which benefits me and benefits him. So we kind of have an agreement that he makes hay on my property each year. He wasn't able to get it cut this year, so some of the grass is still tall, so I'll have to brush hog that on a good day this winter or early spring. I can take you on the Ranger down into this field and show you around a little bit. But it really is beautiful with all the snow all over it. So I did mention that this field is 8.5 acres. We're currently on almost 75 acres. The property is divided into two parcels, kind of a front parcel up towards the road, and then the house and most of the buildings sit back on this second parcel, which is a quarter mile off of the road. So the house is very secluded. It's very quiet here, which is what really drew me to this place in particular, being so far off of the road and just away from the main highways and state highways out here where we are. It's almost a mile to the nearest kind of main road, which if you listen whenever you're watching my videos, it'll be very rare for you to hear any traffic or anything, which was the main thing I wanted. I wanted something quiet. I wanted a piece of property that we weren't going to be hearing traffic noise all the time, and that we weren't going to have to deal with noisy neighbors. So I'll just be quiet here for a second, and you can see if you can hear any traffic. Well, let's take you on a little ranger ride. We'll go into this field we were just talking about. So from this ridge you can just see my neighbor's property and house up by the road. And this is the first of the two major ridge tops that we have on this piece of land. You can't really tell it too much in the camera, but it slopes off really good down into a seasonal creek bed down in there. And our property line goes into that far tree line there. And my next closest neighbor has a house up that direction another quarter mile. So this is the larger of the two fields. And as I've mentioned before in a previous video, these fields are just lined with all kinds of poplar trees, so that's where we get the name for the channel, Poplar Ridge, for the two main ridges that are lined with poplar trees up here. So that's what all the, or most of these are. Back behind me is the house. We've really done a lot of work to get this up to what it looks like today. The porch is all new. We tore off a small porch that was on there and had a contractor put a new porch and a new roof and dormer and new porch roof over. It's a covered porch over the front of the house, and we added new shutters and dressed it up by putting in some cedar shake looking siding in the peaks of the house. So the outside's really come a long way. I'll try to splice in a shot of what the house looked like before here, just so you can see how far it's come. But we're really happy with the way it looks now. The front porch is one of our favorite places to sit and enjoy the sunrise, because it's facing eastward, and just enjoy a cup of coffee. I don't know if you can see them now, but my chickens are actually walking around on the front porch because they hate the snow. The dogs also spend a lot of time there, just laying there as a place to be protected from the snow or rain or whatever if they're outside. So that's the main house. We're just a couple hundred yards off of where we started with that front field, and we're going to head over this direction southward, which is most of my property sits on the other side of the driveway. The driveway is kind of the main dividing line for most of my neighbor's property that direction. So most of my property sits that way in two big square blocks, and we're gonna go that direction and show you this next field. So you might recognize this shot as how I start my videos, with the opening scene and usually the ending scene also. So the house is right behind you, and we're just off the driveway right here, and this is our second major field on the property. So that first field was 8.5 acres, and this field's almost 5.5 acres. So there's roughly 13 acres or so just in hay fields here. My property line goes to the end of this field and another 100 or 150 yards into the woods. I'll take you down there and show you that too. There's kind of a little lane at the end of this property that runs the ridge top. So I'll take you up there and show you that. And I'll take you a couple of spots in the woods that are some of my favorite places, and show you some neat features of the property there. So this is the end of that lane I was telling you about off of that field coming off the house. I'm not quite sure how far we are from the house, maybe 500-600 yards or so. This is the end of my property right here. So there's a little tree line that runs back here, and actually if you look real close, there's a tree right back here, that a small kind of sapling that has like a survey marking tape on there. It's kind of a pink color. If you look real close, maybe you can see it in the video, I'm not sure, but there's an old fence line that runs here, and it runs down the hill this direction back towards the road, so the road's back that way, and it runs on down to the corner of my property. And I'm going to take you down in this section of woods down here and show you around a little bit, because this is some of my favorite area on the property. This is where we have the biggest timber on the property. There's some neat rock outcroppings down in here I want to show you, and but just kind of giving you the lay of the land and how this property is laid out. It's a really nice shape. I know property shape makes a big difference, and this one is not too skinny, it's not too wide, it's really well shaped, so it's almost a perfect rectangle, except for my property carves around my neighbor's house, and kind of I own road frontage around my neighbor on both sides. So But other than that, the property is laid out really well. So I'll take you down in here and show you around a little bit. So you can see we're still on the edge of the property here. There's some more of that marking tape right there on an old T-post on this fence line. And there's some more. And these trees that run this property line obviously are some of the biggest around the property, because neighbors used to really care about whether or not the trees belong to them to cut down. So the ones on the property lines tend to be the biggest. So those are definitely the biggest trees around here. There's a couple around here that you definitely cannot get your arms around. So I'll show you those and show you how this opens up down here. I don't know if you can tell it or not, but this oak tree here is huge. It is something you definitely can't get your arms around. That kind of at breast height there, it's probably 5 foot across, easily in diameter. We've got some firewood to cut up down here we need to get. If you watched my first firewood cutting video and you remember the meadow we came in, and it's right up in there, you can kind of see how it opens up back there. But I want to walk you down this little valley here and show you some neat rock outcroppings and a small waterfall. So we've just come up from this direction, down that little drainage area. And in the spring and summer, when the rains are heavy, this will be flowing with water down through here, and then it drops off and there's a little waterfall right there. So let's go check that out. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell it on camera, but that's probably a almost 20-foot drop right there. And you can see this rock face, how it's almost straight vertical. The water runs off there in the springtime and it's just beautiful. And then it flows on down into a bigger creek. I'll take you down there. And then here's some rock outcroppings on the property. Let me see if I can zoom out and give you a better idea. And that meadow we talked about is just up over the hill. So from the waterfall, looking just up the hill facing southward, you can see a T-post right there with some barbed wire fencing. That's still, that's the edge of my property line there. Some large beech trees out in here. And we're still heading down the hill to the creek. So we're down in the creek bed here. It's pretty dry right now. Like I said, we had a terrible drought this fall. And right in here is a T-post. And my property continues on down into the creek bed here. And I own a little section of this creek that runs through here. And the rest back behind me is all national forest. So I don't have to worry about neighbors building back behind me. But I do have to worry about hunters and trespassers, of course. So my property continues on down this way through the creek bed a little ways. That meadow I keep talking about is just up over the hill that way. And the waterfall and the creek we were standing in is that direction. This is probably one of our favorite spots. We take a lot of hikes, and in the springtime we like to come down in here. Kids and the dogs like to play in the creek. And we don't have to worry about trespassing or anything, because if we're not on our land back here, we're on national forest land, which is open for hiking and hunting and everything. So that's kind of nice. That creek goes on down and it bends around and runs on my neighbor's property for a little while. And I think I own another little small section of it way at the corner of my property that way. Well, everyone, I think that's about all we've got time for today. That and hiking around made me realize how much COVID really did affect my lungs. So I don't really have my full lung capacity back yet today. So if you hear me huffing and puffing on some of the video today, don't hold it against me. I'm still trying to recover from that. Today's my mom's birthday. I want to wish my mom a happy birthday, and just tell you, Mom, how much I love you and appreciate you. You're an awesome Nana to my kids, and the best mom a guy could ask for. So happy birthday to my mom. Also wanted to shout out to a fan today. John Deere 5065 has been a huge supporter. I think as far as I know, he's watched every video, probably liked and commented on every video too. So that really does help me out. So if you're out there and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please go do that now, and hit the thumbs up if you like this content. If you're enjoying following me around on my projects and adventures so far, hope to bring you a lot more here in the near future. Have a good one. Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then.